a special guest to introduce our keynote speaker. Please welcome a longtime supporter of learning leaders through his wife and through his job as New York's senior senator. Here is Senator Charles Schumer.
Thank you, Dana. It is great to be here. And first, I want to thank Learning Leaders for the great job that it does. Now, I want to thank all the people who work for Learning Leaders, because the former executive director, who's now on the board, and my wife are two of the strongest women I know. So for anyone who works here, you must be really good to pass the test of Iris Weinshall and Carol Kellerman. I want to thank Amare Stoudemire for being here. I've been a Knicks fan ever since I've been a little boy. And how many of you, I know Dana asked this, how many of you are from, guess what borough I'm from? Right. I'll give you a hint, kids. It's the biggest borough in terms of people. Brooklyn. Now, did any of the parents go to Madison High School? Yeah, so did I. And I want to tell Mr. Stoudemire, I played basketball for Madison High School. But you know what our team's motto was? Our team's motto was, we may be small, but we're slow. So it's great to be here. I know we're on a tight schedule, but I do want to thank all the parents who are volunteering. You are doing such a good deed. This would be one of the best deeds you could do by the scriptures or anything else, helping kids get through school and helping yourselves and helping your own children. The statistics all show it. When parents volunteer and get involved in a school, the school gets better. And so Learning Leaders has done that amazing job for 50 years, and we thank every person associated with Learning Leaders for doing it. Now, to show you how important Learning Leaders is, you have the star of the Knicks. That's the most important. You have U.S. Senator. That's third most important. But second most important is we have the Chancellor of the entire Board of Education Department to be here today and to be our keynote speaker. And even though I'm from Brooklyn, you know, I like the other boroughs too. And Dennis Walcott is like me. I went to PS 197, Cunningham and Madison. My kids, I'm happy to say, I think I'm the only major elected official in New York whose kids went to the New York City public schools, and they got a great education. And Dennis went to public schools in Queens. He went to PS 36, IS 92, and Francis Lewis High School. When I went to Madison, I dated a girl from Francis Lewis. And I'd have to get on the D train, go all the way into Manhattan, and take the number 7 line all the way out to Flushing, and then get on a bus. And then she dumped me. No. Anyway, so Dennis went to those schools. He then went to the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut and got a Master's of Social Work from a great New York institution, Fordham University. He has focused on family engagement since he's become the Chancellor. The second annual Parents as Partners Week is coming up, and of course Learning Leaders is the crown jewel of that Parents as Partners efforts in New York City. The Parent Academy is going to be announced on October 15th. Under Dennis's watch, for instance, New York City participation in AP exams rose 9% in 2012 compared to 6% nationally, and 12.7% more received passing scores. So he's doing great. On Monday, he announced that New York will open its first EduCare school. That's a national model for providing early education services for at-risk children from 6 weeks to 5 years old. So that's great. And it'll open in Brownsville in Brooklyn next fall. And it's going to provide over 4,000 additional pre-K seats over the years. So it is my pleasure to introduce someone who we're so proud of as a native New Yorker as a product of New York City Public Schools, and now as leader of our great education department, Dennis Walcott.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, Senator, I must say, first, thank you very much for the introduction. The second thing, if you just have 1 second, the Senator and I share something in common in that both of our fathers, and I talk about this on a frequent basis, were both exterminators. And so they were, in all seriousness, and back then, my father didn't have a high school degree, and his passport to gaining equal opportunity through having an income coming in was killing roaches for the New York City Housing Authority. And you grew up with your father as an exterminator as well.
And I tell Dennis, my sister once sent my dad a Father's Day card on behalf of all of us saying, "Dad, we're the only family that associates the smell of DDT with love."
That's true. That is so true. So, Senator, thank you for everything you do on a national basis representing us as Senator of New York City. So, first, I want to thank Jane for her leadership and the trustees for their outstanding leadership. You do a marvelous job. And Learning Leaders, we are always so proud of you. And you have touched the lives of so many people, not just now, but in years past. So now, you know, they always write out a speech for me. And there are times I read the speech, there are times I don't read the speech, and there are times I just misbehave a little. So I'm about to misbehave for 1 second. Because for you Learning Leaders, I did something very special today. I decided to change my attire and become, for me at least, a little avant-garde. So I'm going to show you what I've done. Take a look at my socks. Like those socks? I put those socks on for you. That's how much I think of you. To be a little risque, and so Learning Leaders, you should really know I think the world of you, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank Amare Stoudemire as well. Amare, we appreciate everything that you do for us, not just playing, but what he does in giving back and making the city and the country a better place. We were talking before the start of the event, and if I can share what he plans to do tonight, just tells you about the man. He and several other people will be going out to Rikers Island tonight and talking to the youth out there about responsibility, about fatherhood, and being responsible young men. Amare, thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it. So, you know, I always get concerned when I hear me being introduced as a keynote speaker, because anytime I hear the word keynote speaker, I put myself to sleep, much less put the audience to sleep. And I'm not going to be your keynote speaker today. Basically, what I'm going to say to you today is that you perform an important job in our New York City Public Schools. Plain and simple. For those of you who are here and for those who are in the schools today, we would not be able to do what we do without you, our Learning Leaders. You're volunteers, you're committed, you work with our children, you push them to do much work in a harder way, and we appreciate all of that. And to our great parent coordinators, you know how I feel about you. We love you. We think the world of you. Every day I meet a parent coordinator, I always brag about our parent coordinators because you are the unsung heroes in making sure our schools are doing extremely well. And parent coordinators, you know I come to your professional development sessions, I see you in the schools. You have been an outstanding force for good, and we say thank you for that. But now to our Learning Leaders. Over the years, you have done an invaluable amount of work in making our schools better. But beyond that, you give of yourself, you give of your time, you give of your energy, but also you give of your wisdom. And there's a big difference between the giving of self and the giving of wisdom. And what you have is not just the ability to give, you have the wisdom to give as well. And that is so important in today's society because our children need as much support as possible. They need that word of advice. They need to have someone read to them. They need the mother and father wit of someone like you as a learning leader. And I just want to say to all of you, thank you for that. Now, what the senator didn't say, and something you've heard me talk about before, you know, I have grandchildren as well. And so, you know, my grandson has the unique distinction of attending the same elementary school that I attended in Queens. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad. And, you know, I like to volunteer and do work as well in the schools, and I sometimes go into different schools, not in my role as chancellor, but just as either a grandfather or someone trying to help out. So I'll tell you two quick stories. One time around 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, our principal of my grandson's elementary school was having a day called Ties That Bind, where the men of the community were coming in to donate their ties and then to teach the young men how to tie those ties, because unfortunately a lot of our young guys just either don't have ties or don't know how to tie the ties. So I went in with my ties, and I was in the auditorium, and I was looking for my grandson. I'm looking around, and I'm looking around, and I didn't see my grandson. I said, something's up. So then I went up to the principal, and I said to Miss Staten, the principal, I said, where's Justin? She said, Justin didn't have a good morning this morning. And I said, okay. And she said, well, you know, he's in the classroom. And I said, all right. Then I asked permission, even though at that point I was the deputy mayor, and I said, is it okay if I go up to see him and say hello? And so she said, fine. So after the program, I went up there, and so Justin's eyes got all wide. He said, oh, man, I am busted. I mean, the look was just, I am busted. My grandfather is here. And then talked to him for a second, then I went on to work. Last year, when she had the Ties That Bind, again, she had all of us come in and the men from the community, and I went there not as chancellor but as a community person and as a grandfather, donated the ties. She added a new wrinkle to the program where it was a Jeopardy competition, and she had the young male students against the old guys and competing against each other around Jeopardy questions, and it was a great thing. And by the way, Justin was there for this one, so Justin was there. And I tell you that because we have many Justins and Justines throughout our entire system. And they need our words of wisdom. They need that guidance when they may step one way or the other way. They need our feedback on how to do the right thing, how to read better, how to have that supportive network to make sure they grow up to be productive adults and making sure they're college and career ready. That's the role that you perform as learning leaders. That's the value that you bring to the New York City public school system. We would not be where we are today without learning leaders. So learning leaders, I say thank you for everything that you do, and thank you to your leadership, but individually and collectively, what you do is make our system a better place. And we are one family working together on behalf of our children, and a key part of that family are you, the learning leaders. So thank you, have a good morning, and have a productive day.